This is an open letter to Representative Massie. Bravo, sir. Bravo. You're one of the more respectable members of the legislature in North America. Here's the thing, sir. But bravo for the work you're doing. But algorithm showed me one of your latest tweets, and with regards to United Nations and International Criminal Court, with regards to that, you said you don't believe Netanyahu should be given a pass with all his issues that he has created under his orders, directions. But you also don't believe International Criminal Court should have any kind of jurisdiction within your land. And although you don't approve or disapprove of Netanyahu, you're not interested in that, but also you don't recognize the jurisdiction of International Criminal Court. Well, here's the thing, sir. I've had this thing for a long time. Both many Republicans and some Democrats are of this idea that no, we know better than them. Here's the thing, sir. You do, and I wanted to address this, but now that the occasion, for a long time I wanted to address this, but now that the occasion has come up, I thought a chance to address this. Here's the thing, sir. You do accept some kind of jurisdiction for Interpol, accepting of information for the good of all is like transfer of information with regards to wanted criminals that other nations have a axe to grind with. You accept Interpol, you accept cooperating with the Interpol, but you don't accept, the criminal court, the court that issues those orders, that some of them Interpol has to execute and tells the member states of Interpol. Well, the court is one step above it, stating that, not only, we accept the policing of the criminal or problematic matters, but also we accept, we have the same values, so we accept the judgment as well. That would be the International Criminal Court. We say, okay, whatever these judges decide that are from international community, we accept their jurisdiction. Why? Because here's the thing, sir, Mr. Massie. I want to say Professor Massie. Here's the thing. You are on Earth. You accept this. That this land that you are, in love with, is located on Earth. And some time ago, years ago, Trump basically said, or Trump or whoever, Mr. Hirsch, not Trump, but Herschel Walker, he basically tried to say it, but he didn't make any sense, that if they make smoke in smog or pollutant or CO2 in China, we get it here too. This is one atmosphere. So we get it here too. This is basically, basic math, that once you have a sphere, and if there is a pollution, if there is a shortage of something, if there is a problem, if there is a war, it disturbs the whole system because it's one sphere. Pollutes the system. If you go to nuclear war, it's not like, okay, no, we care only within our borders. It's a nuclear war, particles fly, rains, and the whole sphere goes to shit. Salute, sir. My point is this. I mean, this is math and geometry that no man is an island to himself. You're part of Earth, and you have to somehow cohabitate this sphere with other Earthlings. So, well, that means you have to accept some kind of a, these people who are very worried, again, many in the Republican Party and some in Democratic Party, they're very, very, very worried about one world government. I'm sorry, if that one world government is run by sane people, I don't mind it. You have to, if that one world government is something like, really UN, you have the same rules that, well, better rules. Whichever country is doing good right now, you take their model, you make that into United Nations. And what is wrong with that? Because as long as you do this exceptionalism dance, that no, we are exceptional, we know better, or their values are not our values because our values is better. Our courts rule based on our values, and our values, apparently what you're saying is that our values are different, they're better than those values. So our courts, when they rule, is exceptional, but the international court, when they rule, they're just crazy. We don't accept it. Whoever lives outside of my borders is crazy, is shit. This is the exceptionalism business. It's even got to as close to calling Mexico and Canada shit. Not shit, but I don't know how to put it to try not to offend anybody, but this is this view that some of Uncle Sam's leaders and some commoners have, is that anything outside of our border is shit, absolute shit. We are exceptional. But here's the thing, the problem is that the evidence, historical evidence, shows that you are kind of exceptional, but it seems is exceptionally bad. How to run things, because the most for the past 100 years it's been Uncle Sam's wars. 75 years, starting World War One, Two. You say you didn't start. Uncle Sam had nothing to do with starting World War One or World War Two. Yes and no. Do you see similar happenings like blowing up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? Similar happenings happened by interference of British or British Uncle Sam's managers, British/Uncle Sam's managers. These happenings happened every time Uncle Sam had to go and kick some ass in Europe. Before it, something like blowing up the Nord Stream 2 happened in its day, and then continuous war after that. Let's go to East Asia after that, let's go to South America, let's go to Africa after that. Now recently we're still in the Middle East, let's go to the West Asia. What you call Middle East is West Asia. This is when you say we are exceptional, our values are so high and so clear and so nice that we won't accept the rulings of International Criminal Court. But then in reality, what has happened in history since you've been in charge, this exceptional system, these exceptional people, since these exceptional people have been in charge of this sphere, this planet, in charge means the biggest dick on the block. What everybody else saw was slacking by this big dick. From East Asia to South America to Africa to West Asia, to South Asia. Everybody's got a slacking of Uncle Sam's managers and their big dick. It's like, and they recently use the word pivot. Now we have to pivot from the West Asia to East Asia. Salute. The military industrial complex actually used the you know, the term, this phrase that we have to move away from fighting terrorism to the big power rivalry. And I heard this couple of times, many times on NPR, and I'm thinking, so what happened to the terrorists? So when you leave them alone, they somehow manage, and there is no terrorism ended? What happened? There was a period that you didn't have big power rivalry. You had a recess, but you decided to continue, going to school in the West Asia, calling it anti-terrorism activity. And the moment you decided it's time to pivot back to East Asia, get into big power rivalry, because here is the rival. So you mean if this rival had arrived 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier, there wouldn't have been any terrorists in the Middle East? You would have pivoted from rivalry with, if the timing was, what you're telling me is that if the timing was right, if you could time it well, right out of getting into big power rivalry with Russia, with USSR, right after getting into that, if the timing was right, you would have got into a Cold War with China. This is another big power rivalry. The timing was a bit off, so you had 20-30 years of gap here. There was no big power to rival with. so you found some terrorists in the Middle East. I mean, you started the business by funding terrorists in the Middle East. The Mujahideen were a bunch of crazy terrorists. Any group of people who decides to pick up arms instead of sitting and talking is a crazy group of people. You want the people who are happy to sit behind the desk to solve their problems. You try to not to have people picking up arms. Hey, what is your demand? Let's see if we can somehow meet your demand. How about we intermarry with you? How about have some better relations, so my land is your land and your land is my land? That kind of relationship that exists within 50 states in North America. But here's the thing, sir. My point is this. This idea that we know better than UN, where the United Nations and all the other members, if you put them all together, we know better than them. This is the recent example of this, is vetoing when 99% of the United Nations says, let's stop this by stopping arms delivery to Israel, and you say, no, fuck you, and give a middle finger to the rest of the world. You call this exceptionalism, but it's exceptionally bad. This perspective that you have that our values are better than everybody else's values. This is the evidence. Your values always keeps ending up with more bloodshed and more treasure lost. The first Mujahideen were the bad guys, were the terrorists. You armed the terrorists because Russia should not be able to bring some kind of order into the mountaintops of Afghanistan. That was your idea. USSR, which is a neighbor, which benefits if there is peace and trade in the neighborhood. USSR is a neighbor. They benefit if there is peace and stability in the neighborhood. So they went in to bring some kind of peace and stability to the mountaintops of a fucking Afghanistan, and you exceptional people decided that no, we should arm some terrorists to try to prevent USSR from bringing some kind of a order into this shithole. So you benefited from creating chaos over there, and USSR benefited from creating some kind of peace and order over there. But you accuse them of, oh, you're communist and you're this and you're that, and in general you're bad because I say so. You can't bring order over there. We prefer over there to be in disorder. Why? Why do you prefer Ukraine to be in disorder rather than be in order but under somebody else's jurisdiction? Or at least, those who speak that language, they should have if they want to be under the jurisdiction of Russia just because they speak Russian. And those who don't arm the fucking Ukrainians to claim, land of people that they mistreat. They mistreated the Russians. It's all documented. Before the Russian invasion, they were mistreating any Russian speakers in Ukraine. My point is this, sir: your values are not better than the international community, criminal court, or international community. Your values are not better than the international community. That means you have to accept the jurisdiction of International Criminal Court, because we already have seen it. There is history that says your values are actually worse. Every time you entered the field, there were more dead and destroyed. So your addition to any kind of situation has always meant the destruction of the native population. I would call your values exceptionally bad. If everywhere you get involved there is more bloodshed, then it was okay over there until we found their leaders to be unpalatable. With regards to Libya, their leader and his nationalist, you can call Gaddafi anything you want, but he was a nationalist. You have to say yes, he was a nationalist. A nationalist staying there, trying to take care of his people. Yes, there is dictatorship. What the hell do I care if it's a dictatorship, as long as everybody is happy? And everybody was happy. In every society there is always 2% that are never satisfied. They don't actually, add anything to the society. They're always complaining. But it's like 1-2% of society. If CIA goes in and arms that 1-2% of the society up to here and provides them logistics and information and tactics and this and that and the other, that 1-2% is what actually does a revolution. This is well known that in most revolution, it's not a majority who revolts, it's a 10% minority that creates a revolution. Normal, most people like to sit at home and watch. It's the 10% determined, or even 5% determined, who do a revolution. But determination means nothing if somebody from outside doesn't provide you with goods and resources. And that is every time with Mujahideen Afghanistan, this group all these groups in Central America somehow trying to fight any sort of nationalist ideas. So all those nations should stay shit, be shit, don't even think of having any kind of power or any kind of economy, and we like it that way. And if they don't agree, we're going to go in there and bomb them. Like Gaddafi. It's sort of like, this is a guy who's ruling the place. He lives there. He likes his people. That's why everywhere he goes, he advertises his people by, even if that means living in a tent in New York City. When he visits New York City, to pitch his tent somewhere on somebody's land. But this was his thing, that he wanted to promote his clothing and his wares and how he traveled. He wanted to promote his people. Probably his lady bodyguards were not they were not virgins that he tested their virginity every night. I don't think so. I think he was gay. By many accounts, Gaddafi was gay. But so the women that he brought to the world stage with him as sort of like bodyguards, sexy bodyguards, this was his way of advertising the beauty of his people. These were good-looking girls, sexy, good-looking girls. What better way for an African leader to advertise his people or their genetic information by bringing out their most beautiful as his his entourage? Although he probably was gay, so he understood, and the way he wore it, all the clothes he wore, it was gay. It was very fashionable, very, very in tune with colors and patterns. This not really straight. So again, he had his ways. He was doing his thing. But he had ideas. He was very national. Again, nationalism is a bad thing on your planet, because apparently everybody has to take orders from us. So it's not so much national. Okay, take orders from us. Have those who have taken orders from you, has it worked out well for them? Well, up to now it has worked out well for them in Europe, but the rest of the planet, anybody who said yes to you got it up their ass. And if they didn't say yes to you, they first got beat up. Then they got it up their ass. I'm sorry, sir. Salute. Here's the thing, sir. We don't accept criminal courts jurisdiction means we don't accept their values. When you say we don't accept their values, means my values is much better than them, so that's why I don't accept their values. But historical evidence is staring at you in the face and saying, no, that this is not the case. Recent history shows that your values are actually a little worse. There is more greed. Let's be frank. There is a lot of greed that right now you go to Europe, old Europe, the whole concept of family is important and don't work so hard. The whole idea of siesta, the Spanish, the Italian, the whole idea of, take it easy, have a nap in the middle of the day. The whole idea is, trying to calm their people into not be so greedy. If you're greedy and your boss is greedy, both you want to and your boss expects you to work 15 hours a day, 12 hours a day at least. But you're both greedy. It's like you want more stuff and your boss wants more stuff, and so you work together very well and you stay working 12 hours a day. This greed business, that's one of the issues, one of the things that you may learn more from interacting with those groups, or accepting the values of those groups who are not so greedy through International Criminal Court. I mean, by this exceptionalism, there is more. Let's put it this way: there is more greed, and more greed advertised in North America than most other places in the world. This idea of money solves everything, money cures all. We need more money. We need more growth. We need more. Where do we have to find it? Do we have to find that more in Greenland? Can we find more in Panama Canal, Panama? Can we find more in Israel, in West Asia? Can we find more in China? This is all about more. Blowing up Nord Stream 2 in order so we can sell more of our gas from North America, although this is going to be 5 times the price. Because what? We made a deal with you, you're part of our gang, you should buy your gas from us, or we're gonna go get into a street fight with the Ruskies over selling gas. Salute. Mr. Massie, this is what I'm saying, that all these wars are benefiting quite a few in your system, that you say it's better, that you say it's exceptional. Your system that you say it's exceptional is taking policy decisions, which even means going to war in order to benefit financially. And everything is working out historically. We have records of it. For financial gains, you had to sour the relationship between Russia and Western Europe for financial gain. It benefits us, as Victoria Nolan says, fuck the Europeans. This kind of greed, sir, maybe you can, by accepting International Criminal Court values, maybe you can improve. This is not good values that you have. Values of, regular people in Uncle Sam's land are a different story. Regular people, common folks. The car dealership customers are the regular people. The car dealership owners I'm talking about. That profits, by extension, car dealership owners and managers of their stock portfolio, and managers of those managers, and owners of those banks, these people. Your value system can use a lot of improvement. The value system of this upper echelon can use a lot of improvement. So actually International Criminal Court should be, have some kind of jurisdiction to try to defend the rest of the world from these few greedy people on top who are going to war so they can sell more gas. So, and making things difficult on your planet, where Russia was able to easily transfer gas through a pipe with zero cost, now you have to drag this gas with a diesel burning gas tanker across the Atlantic at great cost. The cost of that side is opening a valve. The cost of this side is burning millions of tons of mazut in order to drag this gas across the Atlantic. This is called greed. This is called the greed of the 1%. And in your system, the greed of 1% is okay. And then you're trying to tell me that no, you don't understand. Yes, the greed of 1% is very okay with us, but still we are exceptional, and our value system is better than the international value system, which the International Criminal Court represents. Our values are better, and your values keep ending up with bloodshed. Right now in West Asia. Before that it was in South Asia, and before that it was in East Asia. Always bringing something to the natives. Something good. It brought you something good. Now bend over. Salute. Here's the thing, sir. No, your value system can use a lot of help. Not the 99% of the population of North America. Their value system is excellent. The 1% ruling class which keeps going to these wars to satisfy the greed of the 1% is getting everybody killed. So yeah, an oversight by international criminal court or international value system with some international judges where the majority wins, I think is much better than even this political Supreme Court that you have. Your Supreme Court is, has become a very political thing. But a rotational kind of judges from International Criminal Court, which are judges recommended by their respective government, I think is a good idea. It makes much better logical, court. The job of the court is to make a logical decision. Sir, about 50,000 at least, up to 100,000 people in West Asia have been killed recently. Let's stop talking about the very past. At present, about 50 to 100,000 people in West Asia, of the natives of West Asia, have been killed at the hands of the Europeans. And you provided the weapons for them. Your system, your Uncle Sam's managers have provided the weapons for the bloodshed. I wouldn't, look down my nose with such a current history or recent history. I wouldn't turn my nose up against the international community and say, no, we are better. That's why we don't accept your judgments or your judges, because we are better. So we are not blind. Nobody's blind. I mean, in Africa, people can see and hear and read and think, do a critical thinking. In Africa, people can do it. In Asia, people can do it. In Europe, people can do it. You got the 1% in these European countries at the palm of your hand. Their nuts is in your hand. But so they have to basically follow you wherever you lead them, but it's not good. Where you're leading them is more bloodshed, because you want to sell more gas to Europeans. I would say that's greed of the 1%. And I would think that it's a good idea to accept the jurisdiction of International Criminal Court if you want to hold the 1% accountable, because your own court system cannot hold your 1% accountable, because we already have seen pictures of Clinton and all the records about Clinton and his relationship with Epstein and his girls, let's put it that way. And because he's part of the 1%, your court system, your legal system says Nope, sorry, can't do. Hasn't touched it, hasn't even recognized it. And same thing goes with the Rockefellers and Muckefellers and Puckefellers and the 1%, the laws, your legal system, not your legal system. The legal system is there. It's just nobody has the balls to hold the 1% accountable on the perception that they may end up in a lake somewhere upside down. So they don't touch it. So you can't hold your nose high. You can't hold your nose. You can't look down your nose at us, the rest of the planet, saying that no. Our legal system is the best. We do the things perfectly. Therefore, we don't accept international opinion or international conscience or international say about what internal matters, domestic matters. Maybe you should have a law, because obviously you're unable to hold your 1% accountable. I repeat again, Mr. Massie, it seems you are unable to hold your own 1% accountable. They go on these expeditions overseas to conquer land and resources. These 1%. They let the 99% stay uneducated, unhealthy, and unhoused, but at the same time they go on overseas adventures in order to claim more territory. So you can treat the people of that territory like the people of your own territory. I mean, what do the Greenlanders have to look forward to? Saying that states just having a trip to the United States, finding out that so many homeless, so many without health cover, proper health cover, so many not with no quality life, and the Greenlanders say, oh, you want us to join this community over here because it's so good, you're taking such a good care of your own citizens, you want us to join your citizens. No, thank you very much. This would be and they don't even need to take a trip. As long as they have internet access and they can see what's going on in the United States, you think they really want to join? How the commoners, how the 99% is being treated in North America, you think, it would be a selling point? Salute. Here's the thing, sir. International Criminal Court, yes, they should have a say in North America. Why? Because it's clear that your legal system is not able to hold your 1% accountable. They hold 99% accountable, not the 1%. None of the Jeffrey Epstein client list the list hasn't been shared with public. The pictures are there, but the list is not being shared. That means what? Means we cannot hold the 1% accountable. I think even the Chinese hold the 1% accountable. Even the Vietnamese hold the 1% accountable. I think their system is much better, is functioning much better. And by extension, I think the International Criminal Court functions much better than obviously your court system functions, because, recently I saw Mr. Clinton holding his head high, having a, get together. He was just at the funeral of President Carter. And his head is held high and he walks around, although we all have seen the pictures of, or am I imagining it? There is the gentleman, Mr. Clinton, and 14-year-old girl standing, holding waists and holding arms and holding waists, and we already know if Epstein died, and Maxwell is in a cannot give an interview. Maxwell is all tied up. So here's the thing. Where is the list? Oh, there is only the 1% are on the list. And no, yeah, you can't even see. Forget about us holding the 1% accountable. You can't even see the list as the 99%. 99% cannot even see the list. And you think this is exceptionally good? Salute. This is so exceptionally good that our values are so much higher, our standards are so much higher than the international community, that we can't accept their jurisdiction, because our standards are real standards and their standards are no good. They're all monkeys over there. If the standards doesn't apply to 1%, not even a teensy bitsy little, then so your standards are not really high. Salute. Your standards are not high. Your judgment is not good. You have a recent history of being a united group of people for 250 years, and spending. I believe I read this somewhere, that only in the life of people of North America, the only time they haven't been at war is like in their history is like 3 to 6 years, something like that. I read this somewhere. It's like 6 years you haven't been at war, and most of it has been wars of aggression, and the reason for that is Uncle Sam's empire has been expanding for 250 years. So what can one extrapolate from that is that it all has been wars of aggression, because you have been expanding. You expanded into Korea and somehow brought some kind of freedom to Koreans to trade. Freedom to trade. So people have been trading ever since people have been on this planet. Now sometimes things get tight, and communism is a way to compensate for the lack of things being around. If you don't have much to eat, you have to compensate by coming up with some kind of economic model that keeps all people from dying. So even if the people have to eat less, let them eat less, but let's share what there is, so half your people don't die tomorrow from starvation. So the answer to that is not let's blockade them. The answer to that is, okay, they're starving, let's trade more with them, so they don't starve, so they come out of this communist system. Let's trade with them more. And so they would come out of the starving system. But the Western man decided that no, if they adopt the communist system, which means there is less to go around, we are going to actually blockade them to make sure there is even less to go around, so we can somehow break them or show them our system is the better system. Salute. Sir, you have been a country for over 250 years, somewhat, 275 years, whatever. And you have not been in war, expansionist war, for only within single digits of years, like 6 or 7 years that you haven't been at war. with somebody somewhere, and it's all been an expansionist war, always expanding the empire. And any question, if you have any questions about that, there is a map of all the US military bases around the planet. This means expansion. What does it mean when you have 800 military bases all over the sphere? Here's the thing, you have 800 military bases all over the sphere, so you recognize that this is a sphere, that your borders are not really your borders because you live on a sphere, so you spread your military all over this sphere because you understand everything is interconnected on this sphere, but then you don't recognize the International Criminal Court because you're exceptional, you're not part of the sphere. I mean, your military is all over the sphere, but the laws of the sphere should not apply to you. So this is the problem. When you don't recognize other people, that don't respect other people, don't consider other people as worthy. So at times, as you go, you make up the rules. As far as us spreading all military bases all over the sphere, we are for it. But if the sphere wants to have some kind of a legal system to hold everybody's 1% accountable, we don't accept that because our 1% is exceptional. Sir, between you and me, you also want to hold your 1% accountable, and a lot of problems will be solved if you hold your 1% accountable. But and I know that your system will not, for the foreseeable future, hold your 1% accountable. Therefore, they are not going to prosecute anybody on Jeffrey Epstein's list until they all die of natural causes. That means your system is lacking. That means a lot of the problems that are on the sphere was created by your 1%. They were created by your 1%. And obviously your courts even can't prosecute the 1% in over domestic matters. Forget about prosecuting them over international matters, which all it has is a sticker of patriotism, and nobody can touch it. They invaded Iraq because of patriotism. Okay? They invaded, West Asia. They're arming Israel because of patriotism. Democracy. Or was it freedom? Not sure.